Live from the Allison B. Parker Studio in the School of Media Arts and Design at James Madison University, this is Breeze TV.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight for our 1-hour special edition of Breeze TV. I'm Kent Irwin.
And I'm Anna Saunders. So we've got a few races going on. Let's start local. City Council, we've got 5 people running, 2 seats available. So Republican Ted Bird's seat is up, and Chris Jones currently holds a seat and is running again. We also have Carolyn Frank on the ballot, former mayor, and we have Frank McMillan, Sal Romero, and Paloma Saucedo. So the big issues facing Harrisonburg right now, obviously new high school, trying to figure out how to solve the overcrowding problem over there, the increased real estate tax, 2011, 2012, 59 cents per $100, 2018 to 2019, 85 cents per $100. So that's been a 44% increase in just that time period. Also, the recycling program is currently non-existent. So each candidate has kind of a different take on what to do about these issues. So it'll be interesting to see who takes that one home tonight.
And then we also, here in Harrisonburg, we have the school board, and that is up 3 people are running for 3 positions. So that they all most likely will get it, but there is the possibility that someone may write in. And then also we have the state senate race between Tim Kaine and Corey Stewart, but also there's a Libertarian running, Matt Waters. And Tim Kaine is our current senator. He currently holds the position. He's the incumbent, and Corey Stewart is running as the Republican. He is a supervisor for the Prince William County up in Northern Virginia. Matt Waters is a Libertarian running, and he is from the Hampton Roads area. And then we also have the 6th district here in Virginia, which of course is where Harrisonburg and Rockingham County are located. And that is currently Ben Klein and Jennifer Lewis. And as you can see, Ben Klein currently holds a lead over Jennifer Lewis with 57% of the precincts reporting. Now we're going to go out to the watch party being held by Duke's Vote in the Madison Union Ballroom. So out to our reporter, Sydney Jacksteimer, who is currently there right now.
I am Sydney Jackhammer, and we are live with Breeze TV. I am here at the Madison Union Ballroom, where Duke's Vote is putting on a election watch party tonight. There's food, there's a DJ, there are spray-on tattoos. We are having a lot of fun out here. Now, I am going to now be talking with Kara Whaley of Duke's Vote. Hello, thank you for joining us today. So we know that in previous years, JMU had a very low student turnout rate. I think back in 2014 it was about 8.8%. Yes. What kind of steps did Duke's Vote take to kind of raise that percentage this year?
Well, we're doing the best we could. The first thing is that we really want to make sure that our students are informed and understand. There's the registration process, the voting process, but also the candidates and the issues at stake. Mm-hmm. We had a traveling candidate town hall that went to 3 different residence halls. We partnered with the Office of Residence Life on that. In addition, we put out a voter guide that was produced in conjunction with an honors political science class. The Breeze newspaper also did a voter guide, so there was a lot. We tried to make sure there was a lot of information and that students had the opportunity to interact with the candidates. We did more than 70 class visits. JMU faculty were awesome in inviting Duke's Vote into their classrooms to educate students about voter registration, voting, and more broadly that voting is just one aspect of civic engagement.
Do you have any idea how all these events and all these steps you took to kind of raise voting, do we have an idea of what the Convocation Center saw when students coming out to vote, or any kind of numbers yet?
We do have some sense of the numbers. I was at Convo all day with Duke's Vote, and just a huge shout out to JMU MusEd, the College of Music, 2 professors in particular, Jesse Rathgaber and Dave Stringham. For their classes, did a Rocking the Polls play-a-thon. They played music all day at Convo. We brought music and civic engagement together. They were playing for democracy. They said, one of the taglines was, music is democracy, because music brings people together the way democracy does. And so that was also another element of all of this as well. As you mentioned, our turnout rate in 2014 overall for JMU campus was 8.8%. Just at Convo, we think we had at least 1,100 students just at Convo turnout today. So that does not count all of the other precincts in Harrisonburg. So we are definitely going to beat that number from 2014.
Right. Well, I'm very glad to hear that. And I know lots of students also who live off campus voted at different precincts. So that is a good telling sign. And it sounds like we are getting the results of city council, and it looks like both Democratic seats. Was that surprising, shocking? What are your thoughts on that?
It wasn't surprising at all. This is really, elections are nationalized right now, so a lot of people are voting down the ticket, right? We know that particularly in Harrisonburg, where there is a split of about 66 to 33% Democrat versus Republican, a lot of people just vote down the ticket, right?
And can you explain that term, voting down the ticket?
Yes. So most people are voting top of the ticket, meaning the Senate races. So Senator Tim Kaine was reelected this evening. People are voting, just straight ballot for one party. We know, for example, that also another factor at the city council level was that there were 2 city council members listed above the others, and those were the 2 Democratic council members, Sal Romero and Chris Jones, and then the independent candidates were listed below them, and the city council were on the back of the ballot. There is, in Virginia, they don't put parties next to names, so
is that a state regulation or a city? Do we know?
That's usually city, yeah, and also the state level, yeah.
So questions about the ballot. I heard were there any problems with voting or anything that went wrong on ballots or at the precincts?
Yes.
Kind of tell me about that.
It was not perfect. So Duke's Vote is a nonpartisan voter registration drive, and we're part of JMU as the institution. We did a lot of education around voter registration, trying to make sure that students had the right space and opportunity to fill them out. There were a lot of third-party voter registration efforts on campus. There were a lot of problems, and we know that a lot of students had to vote provisional ballots because for some reason their voter registration was not handled properly. So we are investigating that. I've been collecting names to follow up, both with our registrar locally. I'm also going to be following up with the third-party voter registration drives about proper ways to conduct voter registration. We're a public university, so we can't prevent them from coming onto campus, but we do know that there were a lot of problems specifically with the Next Gen America efforts to register students on campus.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll find out what happens there. Thank you so much, Kara Whaley, for being with us.
It's just going to go back and forth.
The Department of Music Education and the JMU Center of Civic Engagement were hosting a party at the precinct today to encourage students to come out and vote. Students have been lining up at the Convocation Center all day, ready to submit their ballots and have their voices be heard.
So it's exciting to see so many students coming out to vote. Lots of good energy. Seems like a lot of students are well informed and have been telling us that they've done their research and they've come already knowing who they're going to vote for, so that's great.
Some students feel that voting is not only their civic duty, but it is also a privilege Americans have and should take advantage of.
It's exciting because a lot of people fought for this opportunity and a lot of people in other countries don't actually get to do this. The system isn't necessarily perfect, but if we use it, then we can make it work for ourselves.
While there seemed to be a great voter turnout and students are becoming more engaged, there are still some students who feel uninformed and did not vote.
I definitely plan to vote in future elections. I feel like the push to vote this time was really good and I kind of felt bad not doing it. So, from here on out, I think I'm going to be more informed for sure.
Thank you so much, Chelsea, for showing us how voting went today at the Convocation Center. But now, the student voter turnout for the last midterm election in 2014 was only 8.8%, and JMU's Center for Civic Engagement is hoping that that number increased this year. I will be following the results for we will be following the results for all the districts today here in Harrisonburg and all around the state. But right now, we are going to head over to Anna Saunders, who is in the studio with 2 student analysts for us who are part of the Legislative Action Committee of Student Government. Eric Kaufman and Tiffany Pera. Anna, how can you explain maybe what's going on?
Thanks, Kent. Like you said, I have Eric Kaufman and Tiffany Pera from SGA to be our political analysts tonight. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having us.
There's a lot to unpack tonight, a lot going on. So like we said, 8.8% voter turnout in 2014 at JMU. How do you all think it'll stack up this year?
Obviously, the Civic Engagement Center has done a great job over the last few years helping JMU increase its voter turnout, and I think we're going to see a much better turnout from JMU students. Students throughout the country are really seeing this election as critical, and JMU is no different.
So 6th District tonight, it's kind of looking a little close right now. Is it guaranteed for Ben Kleinnotes? It's usually kind of the guaranteed red district.
Well, you know, looking back in the past, it really has been red. However, if JMU really did get their student engagement up, I really think there is a possibility for it to maybe not completely flip blue, but obviously that impact will be there.
So tonight, I think also Tim Kaine might be a guaranteed win as well. Do you think he might put his hat in for the 2020 race? Is that possible?
I think it's tough to say right now. Obviously, him being so connected with Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign and her being a fairly unpopular person right now, both within the Democratic Party but nationally, I think it's tough for him. But he has shown he's bipartisanship, obviously has executive experience as governor of Virginia. So it would be interesting to see, but right now I just can't imagine him throwing his hat in right now.
Any races you all are keeping a close eye on tonight?
I really just think looking at the 7th District and the 10th District is really interesting to look at, as well as the 2nd where I'm from. However, I don't think the 2nd is really going to flip blue, so.
All right, well, thank you all so much. We're going to keep coming back to you all throughout the night, but thank you. Yeah. All right, and going back to you, Kent.
Thanks so much, Anna, and thank you, Eric and Tiffany. We have plenty of races still to cover here on Breeze TV, and on this very busy election night, we'll be taking a look at the 10th District in Northern Virginia and also some other districts like the 7th in Richmond and the 2nd in Hampton Roads, so be sure to stick around.
This is Breeze TV.
The 7th congressional race has been deemed a toss-up, and two-term incumbent Republican Dave Bratt won the traditional right-leaning district in 2014. This caught Washington by surprise when he defeated House Majority Leader Eric Cantor in the district's Republican primary prior to the election. Bratt was managing a slight 2-point lead in the polls over his Democratic opponent Abigail Spanberger. Spanberger is a former CIA officer, and if elected, will be the first woman to ever represent the 7th District. This district has voted Republican since 1971, but after Henrico and Chesterfield counties voted Democrat in the 2017 state election, this district could be seeing a historic change in political parties. We are going to head over to our reporter Kanwal Syed, who is analyzing the 5th District for us.
Thank you, Kent. We're going to be talking about the 10th Congressional District of Northern Virginia. It covers Clark County, Frederick County, Loudoun County, Prince William County, among a few other counties. Right now we're looking at 148 out of 213 precincts are voting for Democrat nominee Jennifer Wexton against Republican incumbent Barbara Comstock. And we're seeing that the race is 59% to 41%. The 10th Congressional District is made up of affluent voters and college-educated voters, and this year they're looking to vote for Democrats as opposed to the last 40 years where they voted Republican. This year's election is showing voters, especially Republican voters, turning Democrat, as Comstock has not done the job that she has promised. The 10th District makes up the swing district, which is affluent and made up of immigrant communities that are looking to vote for more progression. Comstock comes in with experience and a strong work ethic, but against Wexton, who is new on the scene, it's looking to be voting for Democrat, and we're going to see the rest of the precincts and seeing if the votes come out to be Democrat as well.
As of now, Riggleman is at 55% to Coburn's 45%, and that's with only 86 of the precincts reported. Now, this district is one of the larger districts in Virginia, and it's comprised of 21 counties, starting at the west side of Dulles International Airport to the south border of the North Carolina border. Now, the incumbent is Republican Tom Garrett. However, he is not running for re-election, making this an open seat. The two candidates up for this election are Republican Denver Riggleman and Democrat Leslie Coburn. Now, this district has not elected a Democrat since 2008. However, this district is very divided, being both rural and urban, which makes the percent for Democratic versus Republican not that far off from one another. Leslie Coburn is a little bit of a famous background. Coburn is an award-winning investigative journalist and a filmmaker, while Riggleman is an Air Force veteran and business owner. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. We're here again with Eric and Tiffany. Let's talk about what we've kind of seen so far. Are we going to get this blue wave that everyone keeps talking about?
I don't think at this point the numbers are indicating that. Certainly you've had some elections with Comstock and Virginia 10th that has flipped. It's a good sign for Democrats, but you just saw with Denver Riggleman up, Dave Brat still up. I think those two seats especially were kind of indicators, at least in Virginia and maybe on a national level, whether Democrats were going to get that blue wave. And it's still early. There's a lot of seats and votes still to count, but I just don't think you're going to have that wave that everyone's been talking about for a couple months now.
So I have a few statistics here. Virginia has actually only elected 4 women to Congress. This year, 7 women are on the ballot. What do you think that kind of says about what's going on in our country right now?
I mean, I really think just going off of what's happened in the past couple of months, the Me Too movement, really just seeing an increased presence of women. Obviously, our country is starting to reflect that, as it should have so much longer ago. It really is time for women to really demonstrate their demographic. Obviously, we have way too many men in Congress really just representing themselves, and obviously the United States just is not proportioned that way.
So right now, both the House and the Senate are Republican. Do you all predict that might flip in either chamber?
I think you're going to see the House flip. There's certainly, the way the polls are showing is that Democrats just need about 23 pickups, I believe. I think you're going to see that. From how much more they get, that's yet to be determined, but I think the Senate is going to stay Republican. It's a tough map for Democrats this year with so many rural states, so many so many states that Donald Trump won in 2016. It would take some kind of blue wave miracle, really, for the Senate to flip at this point.
All right, well, thank you all again. We're going to keep coming back to you. But back to you in the studio, Kent.
Up next, we'll take another look into the Madison Union Watch Party, and we will continue analyzing all the top races in the state and city council and school board races here in Harrisonburg. Also, we'll be taking a look at what's happening around the country with all the races and how people performed on Election Day.
This is Breeze TV.
Welcome back to Breeze TV's election coverage. Let's head out to senior Breeze TV reporter Caitlin Merriman out in the field. Caitlin?
All right, guys, I am back, and I'm here with Jen Dimagol-Golden, who is from All In Campus Democracy Challenge. Thank you for being here with us today. So can you tell me a little bit about what your organization does as a whole?
Sure. The All In Campus Democracy Challenge works with about 450 college and university campuses across the country to really institutionalize efforts to promote nonpartisan civic learning, political engagement, and of course voting, which is what we're here about today.
And can you tell me, what have you seen as like the JMU culture here?
Sure. So we've been working with campuses since just before the 2016 election, and after the 2016 election, we were really thrilled to be able to give James Madison University one of our bronze seals for their voter participation that was higher than the national average for young people. But we know that historically, back in 2014, JMU had a pretty low turnout. And what I've been excited about today is the turnout that we've seen at the on-campus precinct and some of the precincts nearby campus. I think just the votes at the cast at the local campus precinct in the Convo probably account for almost the amount of votes cast entirely by college students here at JMU back in 2014. So it's really exciting to see the enthusiasm. It's exciting to see the turnout here tonight, to see the number of people really getting involved.
And so based off of all that you've seen today, what do you think the overall view will be going into the very end of this?
Sure. So I think one of the things that's interesting is there's definitely a lot more momentum nationally for turnout in this midterm than there has been in years. We're looking forward to seeing what some of the exit poll data says. But for us, I think the other piece to remember is this is just one point in the time. And so the work that the All In Challenge really is about is working with campuses to really change the culture for democracy and get all students, not just political science majors, to pay attention to what's going on and to have their voice expressed not only in the ballot box, but kind of throughout the time. So it's really exciting to see the candidates that were there today talking to students at the polling location. It's exciting to see people paying attention to what the results look like, and I hope that momentum will continue.
And what's your overall view of having this watch party tonight? What do you think? How do you think about that?
So there are watch parties happening all over the country. I think this one's been particularly exciting. I think it's great to be able to see the data, but also to hear from other groups that students might want to get involved with. And I think similarly, the party at the polls that we saw today with the music, so the students that were playing, music majors, other students coming for free food and t-shirts and buttons and things like that, really just showed kind of the enthusiasm that exists right now, and so it's exciting to see if that can be sustained.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with us today, talking with us, getting your opinion, and back to you at the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. It seems like it's really a lively time out there at Madison Union. So now we're going to take a look at some stuff that happened around the country. A rainbow appeared earlier this election evening behind Capitol Hill. New York City is celebrating midterms by lighting up the Empire State Building with red, white, and blue and I voted stickers cover the grave of Susan B. Anthony, an activist who fought for the women's right to vote. Virginia Senate candidates Corey Stewart and Tim Kaine got to their polling booths to cast their ballots. Kaine is the incumbent Democrat who was also the vice presidential candidate with Hillary Clinton in 2016. Lines can be a pain, but voters at a Los Angeles polling station got free entertainment when a mariachi band serenaded them as they waited to cast their ballots. Up next, we have live updates on the district elections and a closer look at the school board race, plus some JMU officer election analysis.
This is Breeze TV.
The 2nd District is one of the races that are closer than anyone thought it would be. Let's head back out to Sydney Jacksheimer at the watch party in Madison Union with more. Sydney?
All right, and now I'm going to be talking about the 2nd Congressional District in Virginia, which is the area about Virginia Beach, the surrounding areas of Norfolk, Hampton, and the southern part of the Eastern Shore. Now, the two candidates are Elaine Luria, who is the Democratic candidate, and Scott Taylor, who is the incumbent Republican. Luria is up by 3,000 votes out of more than 200,000 votes, which is out of 88% of the precincts that have closed so far. Now, this district is a historically Republican, but back in 2008, they did throw out their Republican incumbent to replace it with a Democrat, which was part of the Obama wave back in 2008 when he was first voted to office. So let's see. This is a very tight race. This is going to be a very interesting night, and we will keep following it and keep a close eye on it. Both of these candidates are Navy veterans, which is interesting. And another interesting fact about these two candidates is Elaine Luria actually voted for Scott Taylor twice back in 2016 in the general election and the primary. So we will see what is to come.
Thank you. So we're looking at 48% of voters are voting for Comstock as opposed to the 51% voting for Wexton. So it's a pretty tight race. We're looking at about more than half of the precincts are getting their votes in. It's probably looking to be about 72% of precincts are getting their votes in. So we're seeing that the race is very close, but it's looking to be in favor of Wexton. Wexton is a lawyer in Loudoun County. This is her first time running. This would have been Comstock's 3rd term as an incumbent. And the majority of voters in the 10th district, 59%, say Democrats taking over the House will be good for the country, as opposed to the 56% say it will be bad if Republicans keep control of the House. Votes are continuing to be counted in the other precincts in the 10th district, but it looks like Democrats will take the lead this year.
Let's take a quick look at the numbers for the 7th district. Right now, currently we have Dave Bratt in the lead at almost 51%, and Abigail Spernberger at 47.9%. Spernberger is running in a tight race against Bratt to represent a district that has been held by Republicans for almost 50 years, and which Trump won by 7 points in 2016. But for the first time in recent history, this district has a chance of returning blue. In the 2016 presidential election, Hillary Clinton won Henrico County while Donald Trump won Chesterfield County by a 2-point margin. The New York Times Siena College poll found that Bratt is barely ahead within the margin of error with 46% and 44% support. The poll also showed that 9% were undecided. Now let's head back to Anna in the studio.
Thanks so much, Liv. Let's go ahead and talk about the 2nd, 7th, and 10th district. So 10th district will go to Jennifer Wexton. Why did Barbara Comstock not win this one this time?
I really think just looking at Barbara, I mean, obviously that district has been declining in its Republican views for a while. Ever since 2000, their votership for the Republican Party has just slowly gone down. So I really think Wexton was able to just really capitalize on that and just really get her point across. As well as that, I mean, Comstock just ultimately passed a lot of bills when she was there that her incumbents didn't want.
Eric, do you have any input on this?
Yeah, I think the 10th district just being so close to DC is really kind of an embodiment of federal workers and how they view the national government right now and how they imagine their work. An overwhelming amount of people who live in the 10th district work in the federal government, and I think it's no secret that not all are a huge fan of Trump, and I think the fact that Comstock was so willing to kind of embrace Trump policies really kind of hurt her in the end, even though she worked very hard and has worked hard her entire career to kind of come off as a bipartisan leader in Congress.
So let's talk about what we've been seeing in the 2nd district. Are we surprised? Is it what we were expecting? What are you all thinking about that?
Personally, I'm from the 2nd district. I'm thoroughly surprised. However, I do think it's interesting. Just looking at Loria's just background, it's really interesting. It really matches up with Scott Taylor's. Just the background of the military, the veteran affairs, it really does bode well for her. If she is able to win, I fully think that she was the one who could defeat a Republican.
So let's talk about kind of Trump's place in all of this. Do you think someone taking the side of Trump is helping them in this case anymore, or do you think it's kind of hurting them in some instances?
I really think it depends on the district. Obviously, I think this election, more so than almost any other in history, is a national election on the local stage. You see so many districts that one of their top issues is how Trump is going to impact them. So districts that voted for Trump in 2016, while they might have become less happy with him or less enthused with him, if there is still enough popularity with Trump there, then the Republican does very well in that district. And in others like the Virginia 10th that we were just talking about, where Trump is wildly unpopular there, you're seeing Democrats being able to take a lead in that regard. And just going back to the 2nd for just a moment, I think that is a district that surprises me. Scott Taylor obviously being a military veteran and having that region just be so military, such a big military base, it's very surprising that a Democrat is doing as well there as she is.
All right, thank you all so much again. We're sending it back over to Kent now.
Thank you so much, Anna, Eric, and Tiffany. We are now going to check in on the Senate race between Tim Kaine and Corey Stewart. The race has been called for Tim Kaine, with 88% of the precincts reporting. Tim Kaine has almost 55% of the vote, and Corey Stewart has less than 45%, so Tim Kaine has a more than 10-point lead over Corey Stewart. We are also going to take a check-in on the school board race, which was also sort of a well-known, and we knew how that one was going to end up. It was 3 positions and 3 people running. So we have Obie Hill, Andy Cohen, and Kristen Laughlin, who all have gotten onto the school board. They were the only 3 on the ballot. That is it for those 2 races, and we will take a quick commercial break, but after coming back from that, we will take a look at all the races again. So stay with us.
This is Breeze TV.
Well, history has been made tonight in the City Council election. The very first Latino to ever be elected to City Council won tonight. Sal Romero Jr. got the victory, along with Chris Jones, who is the former mayor and incumbent in this race. So what does that mean for Harrisonburg? Well, like I said, Chris Jones is an incumbent, so we kind of know how he's going to vote. He is strong on his vote to keep moving forward with building the high school as soon as possible. Sal Romero is also on the same page with that. Chris Jones wants to implement 2 new city positions in the city. A sustainability coordinator, so someone who would be in charge of recycling and the best way to use Harrisonburg's resources, and a justice planner, someone who would monitor the criminal justice system, who would be working to keep people out of jail and to help people who have been released from jail. So, and with Sal Romero, his big thing has always been bringing as many voices to the table as possible. So he wants to see interpreters at the city council meetings. He wants to see the minutes get translated into different languages. So that's just some of the things we might be able to expect from these 2 new candidates. And now we're going to send it over to Chelsea Church.
That specific one is
All right, so we have about 83% of the precincts reporting at this moment, and there's not really much of a surprise here, as the 6th district has been a solid Republican district for many years. The 2018 Cook Partisan Voter Index for this district is R+13. So that means this district votes 13 percentage points more Republican than the national average in the past 2 presidential elections. So right now, Ben Klein is ahead with about 60% of the votes, and this is following the trend of previous elections, as Bob Goodlatte has never come away with less than 62% of his vote in his 12 bids for re-election. Now, Klein worked for Goodlatte from 1994 to 2002, and he plans to carry on Goodlatte's values and support President Donald Trump. He says his focus will be on preserving constitutional rights, jobs, and the economy, making college more affordable, and fixing Interstate 81. This was Lewis's first attempt at running for Congress. She has been an advocate for a community in Augusta County and Waynesboro, and she served as vice chair of the Waynesboro Democratic Committee until winning the primary this year, despite having no legislative experience. So that is a wrap for the 6th district. Let's toss it back over to Caitlin at Madison Union Watch Party to see how things are going over there.
And we're back with an update on the 5th district. Riggleman is up by 10 points. So what does this mean for the district? So basically, this district has been in Republican control since 2010. Riggleman is a Republican himself, so it will keep this district in control by the Republicans. But we are here at Madison Ballroom with Laura Goldstein, who is the president of the College of Democrats. So thank you for being here with us today. So the Democrats as a whole have had a pretty good turnout with the election process so far, with two council being Democrat, and then the Harrisonburg council, or Harrisonburg being Democrat as well. So can you tell me your thoughts on that right now?
Well, we're really pleased that the Democrats came out in such large numbers to support. We are really pleased with Sal Romero and Chris Jones' win for City Council, and we're excited for what comes with them.
And so tell me about your excitement with this event tonight. How have you felt? What's the environment and your excitement being here?
It's mostly it's interesting to see how these races turn out. It's been flipping all night, so we're really interested in seeing how many races will flip parties and how many seats will be gained by each party.
And how do you think this will be for the future of Harrisonburg, and what are your thoughts on that for JMU and just the community as a whole?
Events like this, I hope it will give people a sense of civic engagement that they should and are interested in to participate, and hopefully they will turn out in larger numbers our next election.
So tell me, what does voting mean to you, and why do you vote?
I vote because I am directly impacted by these policies, as is everyone else, and I believe that to have a say in how our nation is led is super important for not only us, but our future citizens as well.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us, and we're excited to see how it all turns out. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Caitlin. There were actually 2 Virginia constitutional amendments that made their way onto the ballot today. One of these was titled Article X, Taxation and Finance Section 6, Exempt Property. And it was passed, so that means the amendment would authorize the General Assembly to allow owners of property that is subject to flooding partial tax exemption. Each participating locality can then decide how someone qualifies.
Amendment 2 passed with 84% of the vote. This amendment would fall under Article X, Taxation and Finance, Section 6A, and it did pass with 84%. The amendment says that if the surviving spouse of any veteran who has been determined to have a 100% service-connected, permanent, and total disability to continue claiming tax exemption. This would be the case even if the surviving spouse moves to a new principal place of residence that is owned by the surviving spouse.
So Jennifer Wexton did win tonight, and we happen to have a soundbite from her, so we're going to go to that right now.
Because we don't have to live in a nation where people are stripped of their health care. We don't have to live in a nation where our kids go to schools that are crumbling. We don't have to live in a nation where children are torn away from their parents at the border.
Jennifer Wexton has won in the 10th district, and we are going to take a quick commercial break, but we'll be back with more analysis coming up.
This is Breeze TV.
We have a lot of results to take a look at, so let's head over to Sydney in Madison Union Ballroom.
Telling you more about the 2nd Congressional District. Now this race has been a very close tie. Now Luria is up with 3,500 votes, with only 90% of the precincts reporting. Now 13 precincts in Virginia Beach have yet to report their votes, and Virginia Beach is the largest city in this congressional district. Also, Virginia Beach does tend to lean Republican. Therefore, this could be a late win for Taylor, but we will have to see. Now, more about these two candidates. They are both former Navy veterans, so that will split the veteran vote between the two. And also, they do have a lot of the similar stance on topics, so that will also be interesting. This is a close race, so we will keep you updated, and this is one to watch, folks.
As you heard Kent say earlier, the 10th Congressional District is winning by a close race, with Jennifer Wexton, Democrat, winning against Barbara Comstock. This is the first time in 40 years where we have a Democratic candidate in the House, and it's looking to be a good win for the Democrats tonight.
And we're back with an update on the 7th District. We currently have Dave Bratt up by 50.8%, with Abigail Spanberger closely behind at 47.9%. This race has been really close all the way through, and we will have to keep you updated with what happens next. Back to you, Anna.
All right, so let's go ahead and unpack tonight, once again joined by Eric and Tiffany. So any surprises tonight or anything that kind of followed your expectations?
Yeah, I think just overall, it's still very early, a lot of races to call, but we're seeing Democrats really outperform in places, especially in Virginia, that historically they should not even be close in the 7th and the 2nd, especially in the 10th, which has been in Republican hands for so long. It's really, even if they're not able to flip all those House seats tonight, Democrats have to be feeling good for next year's state elections as well as 2020.
How Virginia feels toward Trump right now?
I really think this really just reflects how we do feel about Trump. This election has for a long time been called a referendum on Trump. And I really just think we're continuing to see that. Obviously, if a candidate is supporting Trump, we're not exactly seeing that support in their districts that we used to see for them. So we can look at that and just say, you know, what does this really mean for the country? Look at his approval rating, even among Republicans. Do we really see Trump taking the country in the direction that we really want to see? And I really think the voters got out there, and even voter turnout just really shows how we do truly feel about him.
Eric, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I just really think you're seeing Virginia move more solidly towards a traditional blue state. For years, obviously, it was a Republican stronghold. Then it moved into the purple column under Obama, and now with Governor Northam's election last year, you're seeing the turnout from Democrats this year. I really think in 2020 and beyond, Republicans are going to have to start soul-searching and thinking of ways how they might be able to reclaim a lot of their prior glory in Virginia.
Now, Tiffany, I know when we saw the 2nd District, you were over here saying, I'm shocked, I'm surprised. It's where you're from. What do you have to kind of make out of that?
I really just think it shows that even people who traditionally do vote Republican can always change their minds on the issues, change their minds on how they feel. Obviously,
the 2nd District is very militarized. We have a lot of military population, spouses, family, everything. So I really just think we're seeing the nation take another step into what we really want to see. And I just think that having just another blue candidate that supports the military just really showed up in the 2nd District and really was able to change it.
So do you think kind of the turnout tonight and I guess the Democratic support, do you think that's more been about changed feelings toward Trump or kind of people who didn't show up in 2016 who are now like, okay, I want to show up?
I really think it just comes back to the polarization. This country's issue, their feelings toward politics has really shifted. It's really gone from a small stage to a large stage. We've finally seen with social media that people really do want to get involved and they really do feel like they want their voices heard. Obviously, our generation has always been underrepresented, and I really think finally they're starting to understand that they cannot be underrepresented anymore, and they're trying to change that.
So what other races are you all keeping an eye out? And this can be in Virginia, this can be other gubernatorial races or Senate races across the country. What about?
Yeah, for me, I'm really interested in to see kind of the Sun Belt Senate races, Nevada, Arizona, Texas even, to see those Senate races, and then also kind of a surprise for the night, a race that's much closer polling-wise than anyone could have expected, is the Kansas governor's race, which is looking like it could be very close, and those are areas that traditionally Republicans dominate in. And if Democrats want to tie up the Senate or even take control, that area is going to be critical for them. And also moving forward in 2020, if Trump is able to continue his support in those Rust Belt Midwest states, Democrats are going to have to pick it up in Arizona, Texas, and that whole region of the country.
All right, Tiffany and Eric, thank you all so much for joining us. So this has been our very first election coverage here on Breeze TV. Thank you all so much for joining us, and I hope you all continue to keep up for the rest of the night. Join us back on Friday for our usual show at 3:30.